Oh, ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् संदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु। अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। नारायण नारायण नारायण। First of all, I wish all the listeners of Bhagwan Krishna's Bhagavad Gita a very, very happy Makar Shankranti. Or so to say, we call it Happy Uttarayan. Actually, Makar Shankranti or the start of Uttarayan represents the journey of sun from south to the north. When the days start to become longer and longer, means what? The amount of light outside becomes longer and longer. But the actual meaning, inner meaning of Uttarayan is when the light of knowledge or light of spiritual knowledge starts to dawn in our life, or when the light of knowledge starts to increase in our life, the spiritual knowledge or the knowledge of God or knowledge of the self, that is the actual meaning of having Uttarayan in one's life. So I wish you all a very happy Uttarayan. May this time give you a blissful experience of knowledge, spiritual knowledge and God's grace. That's one thing. Also, it marks upon the start of Mahakumbh at Prayagraj, our Tirthraj Prayagji. So I'm sure many of you, some of you at least must have visited also, had the chance to have Ganga Snan at this Mahakumbh. May it be a blissful time also from a spiritual perspective. So we were talking about the verse number 65 in the last session. We concluded the session in verse number 65, where Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna was trying to conclude upon why self-control is important and what are the results which one will achieve, a seeker will achieve, if a consistent practice of self-control is entailed. So Bhagwan, after giving the ladder of fall, all in actually is 62 and 63, in 64 and 65, Bhagwan gave us a solace or gave us a comfort that don't worry about the ladder of fall. If you consistently practice, first thing is that you will ensure that you don't have to come across the ladder of fall in your life at all. Also, he gave us a way out of how to escape from the ladder of the fall and what are the steps we need to take in our life. So before we move on to the next verse, which is verse number 66, I will read the commentary of Pujya Gurudev on verse number 65, which I could not do because the session went on a little longer in the last session. So verse number 65, Pujya Gurudev says, it is natural for an Arjun mentality of uncompromising intellectualism to ask Krishna, then what? As an answer, the Lord explains why he should develop and maintain tranquility of the mind within himself. In tranquility, all sorrows are destroyed. This sentence is obviously commented upon as a definition of happiness. A peaceful mind is the significance of happiness. Peace is happiness, happiness is peace. The least agitated mind is a proof against all sorrows, in as much as sorrow is nothing but a state of agitation in the mind. This explanation does not satisfy us completely, since Krishna's assertion is that sorrows will be destroyed. Hanihi is what Bhagwan mentioned. In order to bring out clearly the meaning that is implied in the phrase destruction of sorrows, we will have to understand it as the elimination of vasanas, which I also elaborated when I picked up the BMI chart a little bit in the last session. Earlier on in the introduction, we have said that the vasana granulations, upon giving a thick coating to the subjective mind, are the cause for its delusion, which creates all sorrows for the imperfect ones, while the perfect one transcends the vasanas through the buddhi yoga, as explained earlier. It is very well known that all the vasanas existing within an individual who is facing life constantly cannot be fully eradicated by him. The secret of doing so has been explained here by the Lord. Keeping the mind exposed to an atmosphere of tranquility, prasada, consciously brought about through an intelligent life of self-control, is the secret whereby all the vasanas can get eliminated. So that concludes the explanation on verse number 64 and 65, which we have been taking up from the last two sessions. Today we will move on to verse number 66. So before we move on to verse number 66, I will read the connection which Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji gives in his Bhashya for verse number 66. He says, this verse has been put out by Bhagwan, Sa iyam prasannatas tuyate. Now, sometimes the other side or the negative aspects are brought about not for or bringing about the negative aspect of it, but as a praise for the positivity. So, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, the next verse, verse number 66, Bhagwan is explaining what happens to the person who does not come to follows through the practices as mentioned by verse number 64 and 65. What happens to such a person, which is the majority of individuals in this world? So that is what Bhagwan is bringing out. But remember, the it is being brought out by Supreme Consciousness, Bhagwan Krishna, not for or pointing out the negative aspects of it, but negativity is sometimes brought out to praise the positive side of the things. So sa iyam prasannata stuyate, that happiness which Bhagwan spoke about in prasadam adhigacchati, prasade sarva dukkhanam, all those happiness, praising those happiness, that kind of happiness is what Bhagwan is bringing out, the negative aspect of if we don't do that, what happens to us. And that is what the verse number 66 is for. So Puja Gurudev also says, what will happen when peace is attained? And the tranquility is extolled here by Lord Krishna. Bhagwan is praising the actual tranquility, and for that at praise, Bhagwan is bringing out the negative side of what happens to the people who don't follow that. So now verse number 66 we'll read. We'll read the verse first, and then I'll read Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's bhashya on the same, and then we'll take up the meaning. नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम् नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्. भगवान शंकराचार्य जी इस भाष्य. न अस्ति न विद्यते न भवति इत्यर्थः. बुद्धि आत्मस्वरूप विषया अयुक्तस्य असमाहितान्तःकरणस्य न च अस्ति अयुक्तस्य भावना आत्मज्ञानाभिनिवेशः तथा न च अस्ति अभावयत आत्मज्ञानाभिनिवेशम् अकुर्वतः शान्तिः उपशमः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्. इंद्रियाणां हि विषय सेवा तृष्णा तो निवृत्तिः या तत्सुखम् न विषय विषया तृष्णा दुःखम् एव हि सा न तृष्णायां सत्यां सुखस्य गंधमात्रम् अपि उपपद्यते इत्यर्थः. Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's brilliance and the way he brings out the meaning of these verses. I think I would have said that to you before also. I'm repeating in myself now also. Trust me, a true student of Bhagavad Gita who really want to understand what Bhagwan has mentioned through Bhagavad Gita, not taking up just the literal meaning of the verses, rather understanding Bhagavad Gita in its deep sense and aspect, in its deep knowledge which it wants to give. I'm telling you, it is not possible without Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's bhashya. Because the way Bhagwan Shankaracharya brings out the aspects of these Sanskrit words of Bhagwan Krishna put up in each verses, it has got its par excellence beauty. So I would say that it's the brilliance which shines forth when we actually read Bhagwan Shankaracharya's bhashya on Bhagavad Gita. Without it, understanding Bhagavad Gita in its true sense is not possible, actually, to be honest with you. So Bhagwan is saying through this particular verse, this buddhi which Bhagwan said about in the previous one, when Bhagwan says is buddhi ashu, remember that at buddhi paryavatishthate, immediately that person's buddhi. And when you say buddhi here, you need to understand it's Sankhya buddhi Bhagwan is talking about. Buddhi doesn't, you just don't convert it as intellect as the literal meaning. That's not what is understood here. Bhagwan is saying here, this buddhi which Bhagwan mentioned in up till the previous verse is not gained by those people who do not act with devotion towards God, or who do not act with complete focus on their duties. Meaning, in the 47th and 48th verses is the Yog Buddhi which Bhagwan told. Those people who do not follow that Yog Buddhi which Bhagwan taught, or in those verses, Bhagwan is coining them with the word Nasti Buddhi Ayuktasya. Those who do not follow that karma yoga which Bhagwan spoke about in 47th and 48th verse, and do actions with the karma yoga attitude to prepare themselves or their intellect for gaining the Sankhya Buddhi, that those people Bhagwan is calling ayuktasya. Ayukt means those people who have not enjoined themselves with the karma yoga, the knowledge of karma yoga. And when one has not enjoined oneself with the knowledge of karma yoga, means their intellect has not gained enough purity by way of karma yoga, then for them to comprehend the reality, which Bhagwan uses with the word bhavana, is not possible for such people. And since comprehending the reality is not possible for or such people, Bhagwan says, I'm telling you the literal meaning now of this verse, then, and those people will always remain ashanta. Ashanta means will have agitated state of mind, will have lack of peace, so to say, ashanta. And then Bhagwan coins the word saying ashantasya kutasukam. If somebody's mind is agitated or somebody is not at peace with his inner equipment, then how such a state of mind can ever experience happiness? Experience of happiness is not possible for an agitated mind or a mind which is not with peace with itself. So Bhagwan is trying to show us two ways here. In the first way, Bhagwan is saying, two paths Bhagwan is saying. It's like crossroads, Bhagwan is saying. There are two paths to you. First is which Bhagwan explained in the verse number 64th and 65th, where a seeker's intellect gets well placed in the knowledge of the self and starts to follow that path and starts to live as a devotion towards that self. That's the first path which Bhagwan has shown in the verse number 64 and 65. The next part Bhagwan says is, and which is the other side of the other path, which is if people don't want to go that path, then the other path which Bhagwan is saying, that then the other option which is left, which majority of the people travel, well, is the path where a person does not have the knowledge of self, or does not have any, he does not put any effort towards growing vertically in life, so cannot comprehend the reality, cannot comprehend the truth, cannot understand the truth. Then the other two aspects which are there in the life of such people is that you cannot not ever expect eternal peace. Means what? Your peace will come and go, it will be in pieces actually. And since peace is also not there, experience of happiness also you are far away from. Happiness is also like those people will, people like us actually, our experience of happiness is like drop of happiness. Drop comes and then we are like high and dry without even a drop of it for a long period of time. Then drop comes, then it is like again in like that. So Bhagwan is showing these two kind of paths as a choice to all of us. Now we need to understand this verse a little bit deeper. Okay, let's see what Bhagwan is trying to say. Now Bhagwan says the best result, or the amazing result of living the life devoted unto God, or devoted unto supreme reality, is that this person is able to place well himself in the knowledge and understanding about the truth of this creation, the reality of this creation, or the eternal truth, so to say. Then what happens? Such a person starts to lead a life which talks to, or which translates into leading himself or herself into the ultimate goal of life, irrespective whether that goal is achieved in this life or next life. At least the journey has started. The problem is with that thought that I don't think it is possible for me to even achieve that self realization in this life. That does that mean that we don't put any effort and start walking the opposite direction altogether? You are going more farther from your actual self. You're going further and further. It's not that you have two choices, but you are actually a fool if you decide to walk the other path. Okay, self realization or knowing God is not possible in this life. Let me walk the other path and see what I can get. Go do. Then you are actually creating or paving way for yourself to struggle in many life to come back to this path, because once you are straight into a different path, you have to walk all the way back to the crossroad to come back to the path. You don't understand how many lives you're going to waste on that. So Bhagavan is trying to tell here that the best advantage of walking the path of being devoted with all actions devoted unto the supreme consciousness of God is what Bhagavan has explained in the verse number 64 and 65. Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna, after expounding well about the ultimate gain of leading a life devoted unto God and Supreme Consciousness, now talks about the other side, the opposite of it, that what happens if one does not do it or walks the other path. So Bhagavan says, Nasti buddhi ayuktasya. As I mentioned while giving you the literal meaning of this verse, the word buddhi here you should translate into the meaning of Sankhya Buddhi. Because Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is also explained that same way here. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has explained the word buddhi as Atma Swarupa Vishaya, means that one and which is of the nature of complete knowledge of the self, well placed in the self. Means what? The buddhi or the intellect which is filled with the complete knowledge of the self, the way the self is, and has formed knowledge within himself in terms of the true nature of the self. And which is what, as explained by Bhagwan, as Sankhya Buddhi. For a ayukta, for an incapable, incompetent one, ayukta, attaining or achieving or gaining such an intellect is not possible at all. Bhagwan Bhashyakar Shankaracharya ji has mentioned explained the word ayukta as that asamahita antakaranasya. Asamahita antakaranasya. Bhagwan says here, the one, first let's understand the meaning of samahit and asamahit. Samahit means when you gather your intellect in one direction, single pointed direction. Okay, asamahit means when our intellect is scattered in all different directions. Okay, now if you remember in the earlier verses, I mentioned one verse where Bhagavan says Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana. If you recollect at that verse, Bhagavan has mentioned, and earlier, let me just pick up the verse number, then you will understand. And Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana, Bhagavan has mentioned there. In the verse number 41, Bhagavan mentioned Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushakahi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. Now when you read the verse as ayukta here, you should talk about, your intellect should know about avyavasayinam, the one whose bahushakahi anantascha, whose intellect is scattered in different directions. And that is what is meant by asamahitantakaranasya, whose intellect is not firm in one direction, it's not single pointed in terms of understanding about the nature of God and who God is. Now, there are certain aspects which I'm actually, to be very honest with you, itching to bring out, but I do not know should I bring out here or sometime later on. But let me see if I can just touch on that point. But I'll explain it probably some other time. But I'm just trying to bring your attention to. Remember, in this creation, there is no one who does not have any kind of knowledge about God, or in their intellect has got no knowledge about God. I'm marking my word and I'm trying to explain here. There cannot be any human being, any jiva I'm saying, because I'm not talking about, or jivas who are like non-humans right now, but for you to bring out, let me talk about human beings now. There is no human being in this creation who can say that I have nothing about God in my intellect at all. Now, when I say nothing in my intellect about God at all, I'm talking about even atheist also. So, if I just let me just bring out that example for you to understand that even an atheist also has some kind of an acceptance that God does not exist, right? But God, the knowledge of God being not there is there in the intellect, no? There cannot be any human being who's devoid of zero understanding about that. The subject of God is not even there in the intellect. Whether the acceptance of God being there or not being there is also a subject of God only, no? So there is no human being in this creation who does not have any kind of knowledge about God. But that's a different thing. Even some have acceptance of God, some have no acceptance of God. One day I'll bring out this topic in a different discussion, or there is one verse which Bhagwan is himself going to bring out. At that time I'll explain you this thing. And supreme consciousness, Bhagwan Krishna, is so beautiful. Supreme consciousness is so beautiful, well, that the way he works, if you try to even know how Bhagwan works or the supreme consciousness work, it is mind boggling. Now, since I've said that, just remember, even the thought of God being not there in some atheist is also sustained by the self whom that atheist does not accept. Can you imagine that? If that is the case, why waste life on such things? Why not just move towards knowing God and enjoy this entire gamut called life? So anyway, I'm going to bring that some other time. So Bhagwan says here, asamahita antakaranasya, the one whose antakarana, whose inner equipment is not in a collective strength form, is not, or gathered correctly in strength, rather is divided into bits and pieces, is scattered into bits and pieces. This means what? Or the one whose antakarana, whose inner equipment is completely deluded, is so fickle, is completely unsettled, in such an intellect, in such an inner equipment, even if pramana means the proof of God, is traded in such an intellect or is passed on through such an intellect, even after or the knowledge of the self from the proof of the self, of proof of God being presented to such an intellect, like, in spite of that, this person's intellect is not able to grasp the understanding of God. There is a purpose. I am not using a word which sometimes we mistakenly use. What is the thing which we mistakenly use? I'm not using the word, I'm marking it purposively, because sometimes we mistakenly use this word which is not correct. I could have said which does not form the knowledge about concept of God. The reason I did not use that is God is not a concept, rather we are all concepts and God is the reality. That is the reason I did not use the word concept here. So when we say concept is a thing which is like human made. We only conceptualize according to our mind. If God also becomes a concept, that means it is a concept of somebody's mind. But I'm sorry to use the word, it may find a little root for certain people who live in those kind of thought process, but I have to talk about the reality. The reality is God is not a concept. God is the eternal truth in this whole creation. We are all concepts inside that creation. Actually, if you really think over it, you will understand. I told you, probably some other time I'll take up that how supreme consciousness works when the verse in Bhagavad Gita comes, then we will pick it up in detailed meaning there. Or if I have a session somewhere or outside, I'm going to talk about that also. I can bring it up as a topic, which is a topic worth an hour discussion actually. So let's move on. So in spite of the fact that the proof of God is presented and traded with that person. Traded means doesn't mean that don't see it's like a business trade I'm talking about. Trading means in the classes is when the exchange of knowledge happens. That's a trading only. It's not, there's not, every trading doesn't have to be a business outside. I'm talking about or the transaction exchange which happens from the person who's teaching to the student who's receiving. That is also an exchange of knowledge. Even though the exchange of knowledge has happened, but still that knowledge doesn't ignite or doesn't arise, doesn't get accepted in the mind of such a person. Remember, now I have to bring out certain aspects for you to understand. Now that's the beauty of Sanskrit and our Vedanta actually. Vedanta brings out everything in so much detail, so to talk about. Now, when we say that in spite of the fact that the exchange of knowledge has happened, but the knowledge did not happen or ignite inside the person who received it, then the first question which comes into our mind is that, is there some lacking in the proof which was presented? The proof of knowledge or praman means proof of the knowledge which is there. There could be a possibility that something was lacking in the proof of which was presented to that person, and it's not that what Bhagavan is trying to say here, that but here the proof of God is perfect. And I tell you honestly, and being a Sanatan Dharmi, I'm telling you, without Sanatan Dharma scriptures, God can never be understood. Let me be upfront in saying that, and that's one of the reason. And in many other places, I've said also, Sanatan Dharma can never be compared with other religions. Sanatan Dharma is not a religion at all, and other religions are not dharma. So we have to understand there is no comparison between both of them. Sanatan is dharma and other religions are only religions. And I'm told you, when I bring it up again, I'll bring it up in quite length also. So here the proof of God is perfect in the way it is explaining about God. But and the acharya who is teaching or the guru who is teaching is also very well competent enough, capable enough, has got his own level to actually give the knowledge, but the actual knowledge doesn't happen inside. Means what? There is some kind of a fault, some kind of an error which is there, or some kind of a lacking which is there in this person who's receiving it, who I'm coining with the word, the way Sanskrit coins it is pramata. So now since I said pramata and pramana, let me bring out the four aspects which Vedanta brings about in any exchange of knowledge, especially self-knowledge, so definitely there. For any exchange of knowledge to successfully happen, there are four parts to it which are critically important. There are four aspects to the entire knowledge exchange which happens within us. What are those four things as per Vedanta? Vedanta says there has to be four things. One is prameya, second is pramana, third is prama, and the fourth is pramata. Okay, let me just put it the correct order. Prameya, pramana, pramata, and prama. These four things have to be there for a knowledge to successfully happen, or the exchange of knowledge to successfully happen inside a person, and the person is receiving knowledge. Now let me just explain you, because these are Sanskrit words, so for you to understand. But I would want that all the students and seekers who are listening to this, I may not repeat this again. In going forward, I may use the word prameya, pramana, pramata, and prama. So you better note it down what it means, so that you don't get confused, because I cannot explain it every now and then. So what is prameya? Prameya is that which is to be known, or that about which the knowledge is to be gathered. That is called prameya. In the subject of spirituality, prameya is atma, paramatma, or supreme consciousness, or God. That is the prameya. So for any knowledge to happen, first you need to have a subject of that knowledge, right? What is to be known? So that subject is called prameya. Pramana, by which the knowledge is gained, is pramana. Okay. Now, when we use the word pramana, two things we qualify for pramana is, of course, Upanishad, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, they are pramana. Okay. And who is giving that pramana? That pramana is being given to the shishya by guru. So guru also becomes a praman over there. That is why when we spoke about Shraddha, if you remember, I gave a definition of Shraddha as per, Tattva Bodh. Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishwasa Shraddha. In the words of Guru and Vedanta, Vedanta means Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, etc. In the words of Guru and Vedanta, having complete faith is what is actually called Shraddha. So, Pramana becomes Guru and Vedanta here, means Shastra here, means Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, etc. Pramata, the one who is knowing or who is gathering knowledge, who is a student, who is a disciple. So, in the world of Sanatan Dharma, in the entire Gurukul system, we used to have only these words called Guru and Shishya. Now, Guru is definitely, in English, if we translate, the word Guru becomes teacher and Shishya becomes student. But actually, that doesn't bring out the correct way of representing it. So, I would not use the word teacher here, because teacher has got many other meaning also. Of course, Guru teaches, but a Guru is far higher than the teacher, because Guru is not teaching you from the book. Guru is teaching you from his own experience. So there is a difference. So I'm not saying teachers don't teach from their experience. Don't say that. That's not what I meant. And knowledge itself has got many aspects. But I'll come back. How many things I have to come back? Let me just note it down somewhere. Then I'll bring it back whenever I come to that topic. So Pramata is the one who's a disciple. So, instead of using the word teacher and student, for our discussion of Bhagavad Gita, I will use the word guru and disciple. Now, why disciple is different from the student? Actually, disciple is the one who submits to the discipline of guru. So that is why guru and disciple brings out a different meaning altogether than actually a teacher and student. So that is the reason I will use that. So pramata is a disciple here, the one who is devoted to a guru, and has come to a guru with the intention of gaining knowledge, intention of contributing to one's vertical growth, intention of walking the path of spirituality, or so to say, a seeker. Okay, so pramata. Then the fourth thing which is important for a knowledge transaction to complete is that even though these three things, prameya is there, praman is there, pramata is there, but actually the transaction of knowledge is complete only when the knowledge happens inside the disciple, no? Right? And that is what is the knowledge which happens inside the disciple or the seeker is what is called prama. We can translate the word prama as wisdom also. So till now, the knowledge which guru is giving is the knowledge which is of the guru, and it is in the scriptures. So they are both external right now. But when the knowledge becomes mine, when it does it become mine? When it becomes free from all kind of doubts and questions. right? That's only when the knowledge becomes clear and shining forth inside me. No? See, even if you just see from the worldly kind of knowledge we have about science or maths or anything, when do you say, alas, I've understood? Understood means what? Understood means it is now free from all kind of doubts and questions, and it is clear in my mind. That clarity of knowledge, that clarity of knowledge, when one has inside their antakarana, that is what is translated with the word called prama. These four things are critically important for a knowledge to happen. Now, since I've said that, now in the just a few minutes back I just mentioned, no, when the praman is there and the praman is correct and prameya is also there, where pramata is also there, where, but the prama did not happen, the clarity of knowledge did not happen. Now then we have to now find out where the error was, right? Now most of the time I have to give you all aspects for you to understand it correctly. Most of the time the error or fault is at the level of pramata. Okay, when if the error is at the level of pramata, the one who is the seeker, the one who's a disciple, if the error is at the level of pramata, that the exchange of knowledge was there, guru taught it also from the scriptures, but the knowledge did not happen, then the error at the error or fault at the level of pramata is coined as, this person is not an adhikari yet. He's not a he's not a capable student yet. Adhikari, I'll use it that way. Let's be easy on the words now, so that I don't confuse you with the kind of words which we bring out from this whole discussion. But I should bring you the other side also. Now, when I say knowledge, this I spoke about the self knowledge. Let's talk about the other kind of knowledge first, for us to understand. In all other kind of knowledge is also these four things are there. It's not that it is only about spiritual knowledge. In all kind of knowledges, prame is there, praman is there, pramata is there, and prama is there. But if, even though these three things are there, if prama doesn't happen, then when we try to find the fault in the outside worldly knowledge, many a times it is seen that at the pramana could also be faulty. Pramana means the proof which was there for that kind of knowledge. I'm again marking my word. I'm not talking about this fault at the level of self knowledge. That is not there here. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm trying to explain you the transaction of knowledge from a worldly perspective. In the worldly kind of knowledge, if the knowledge does not happen correctly or it is incomplete, sometimes it is possible that the fault was at the level of pramana, the proof also. I should give you an example also. I do not know if I should take up praman in detail now. Rather, I would take it some other time only in detail. Amongst the list of proofs of any kind of knowledge, two of them which are brought out very much is actually the pratyaksha and anumana. Pratyaksha means that which is present in front of our senses. Senses could be anyone. Akshan prati means that is which is in front of our eyes, but actually akshan and doesn't mean eyes only here. We have 5 organs of knowledge, right? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And the kind of knowledge they gather from is, one from the form which it sees, one from the words when it hears, from the smell it smells, the taste it tastes, and skin gains knowledge from the touch. Sometimes if somebody covers your eyes, and by the touch of their hand you say, so and so it is, you say that, right? So that is called pratyaksha pramana, that which is gathered by our senses, as and when and how it is presented in front of the senses. The second one is anumana. Anumana means I guess. Like, for example, I see the best example of Anuman Praman is actually, I see some smoke emanating from somewhere. So if smoke is emanating means fire has been there or is there already, right? Without fire, there will be no smoke. So that is called Anuman Praman actually. So now let me say, when I say that, some things can be at level of fault at the level of Pramana also. So there are some things which are supposed to be known by Pratyaksh Pramana, but I use Anuman Pramana to know them. That at that time there is a possibility that, the Pramana is not correct and the knowledge which happens may not be correct. So, there are many worldly things also I can speak about. I do not know, when we talk about Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita is actually a manual of life. Actually, if you translate it into life, life becomes so easy to understand, so to say. But I'm telling you, I don't know what to talk about, Supreme Consciousness, Bhagwan Krishna. See, such a deep knowledge Bhagwan Krishna gave to Arjun in the middle of a pressuresome environment. Armies standing on both sides. Not that Bhagwan didn't have knowledge before, Bhagwan had knowledge all the time. But till the time Arjun became an adhikari, which is when being a capable disciple, a perfect disciple with all qualities, a qualified disciple. Let me just say that. Adhikari means a qualified disciple. Till the time Arjun became a qualified disciple, Bhagwan did not give Bhagavad Gita. Bhagwan had, it's not that Bhagwan told Arjun, Arjun, wait for 5 minutes, just let me get my books, read and come. No, Bhagwan always had this knowledge all through time. Bhagwan is not trying to read something and tell you. In the middle of warfield to an Arjun who's deluded, Bhagwan is giving knowledge which by himself to him. Excuse me, himself to him. Bhagwan always had this knowledge. It's not a new thing for Bhagwan. But then the question comes that, Pandavas, they were there with Bhagwan all the time. Arjun also, who was a friend to Bhagwan and had roamed around with Bhagwan so many places, so many, so many acts of play and things have happened between Bhagwan and Arjun. But even though Bhagwan always had this knowledge, but Bhagwan gave knowledge only when Arjun became a qualified disciple. That is what we need to understand. Many a times Guru may be around us. Many times we may come in touch with Guru. But our stupid ego that we are more qualified throws us far away from a Guru, even though Guru may just touch us and go. Our stupid reactions, our stupid actions, the way we talk, the way we try to interact, these things actually deprive ourselves only. We are at loss. Trust me, I'm telling you, there is no dearth of disciples for a guru by any chance. If we feel that if I'm not there, my guru may be missing me, I'm the biggest fool on earth to think that. Guru is already established in the self. He doesn't need us. He doesn't need any one of us or anything from us. Actually, many a times things are needed to be offered to Guru as a service so that our intellect becomes pure. It is for our purity, not for Guru. We can't. Guru is not for sale to be bought with anything which we can offer in our life. What can we offer to our Guru? I tell you, I myself say loud and clear, I may serve not only in this life, in many lives, but I cannot pay back my Guru what he has given me. So that's the level of understanding we need to have. What can I offer my Guru? He is already the established in the self, the supreme consciousness. So Guru is there, but we have not become qualified. Now I'm telling you very honestly one more thing. There was a conversation which many saints, many teachers of Vedanta had with Pujya Gurudev also. He told Puja Gurudev that when Gurudev started going overseas, Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji started going overseas and started to teach Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad and all the scriptures over there. Many people went to Gurudev and told Gurudev, why are you giving it to unqualified people? Well, don't you feel that they may misuse it? So Puja Gurudev said, let us not take the ownership of guarding Mother Shruti. Mother Shruti can very well guard herself. We don't have to take the ownership of protecting Mother Shruti that much. We should actually take all the kind of service to Mother Shruti to offer to people. But if people are unqualified, irrespective of whether they hear also or not, knowledge is not going to happen. So we don't need to worry about it. Shruti is such a powerful. Shruti means mother, or Vedas. I'm talking about Shruti. Is Shruti, Mother Shruti, or our scriptures of Sanatan Dharma is so powerful that if you are not qualified, knowledge is not going to touch you also. Forget about doing anything else. So that is why, even when and I started podcast, as I did not worry about how will people understand all those things. Who understands, they will understand. Who can't understand, they have to be prepared, they have to be qualified first to understand. So many times when we see that the knowledge hasn't happened, there could be a possibility in the worldly level that the problem is at the level of pramana. Pramana means that the proof of knowledge. Sometimes it could be faulty, that for the things which is to be known with pratyaksha, we may be using anuman pramana. For the things which is to be known by anuman, we may be using pratyaksh pramana. So we are not using the correct source of knowledge to gain it. That could be one of the possibility, that the knowledge, the way it is supposed to happen, did not happen. And so that is the reason, because there is a error at the level of pramana. The knowledge will have, the knowledge which happens will also be incomplete or incorrect. And sometimes that which is to be known, which is coined by the word prameya, is something which is far from the reach of pramana, from the proof of knowledge. Sometimes prameya, the state of prameya, that which is to be known, is such that there is only this much which can be known about it. That is why we coin in a word for such prameya as anirvachaniya, that which cannot be explained completely, right? So like for example, if you want to know about this whole world or whole creation, and you are trying to know about it through what, pratyaksha and anuman, and so then that is not possible. You are trying a wrong source of knowledge also. Through pratyaksha and anuman, you think you can know about the whole world? No. Even when we come to the scriptures also, and about the knowledge of the self or about the knowledge of creation, and Vedanta also coins it with the word anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means that which cannot be explained fully. That which cannot be explained and fully. Actually, let me just explain you this way. In this world, if you drill down into this world from an object level also, or any subject you can pick up in this whole world, any subject stream you pick up in this whole world, remember one thing: any subject which is available for gaining as a knowledge in this world, it can never be known completely even today. The one example I'll tell you is how evolved medical sciences is. But have we known about every disease yet? No, it's not possible. When Corona came, how much hue and cry in the world. That everyone was at war front to control it. But it still came up to a level. How many people lost their lives? How much impact was there at the global level? It has to be declared as a global pandemic. And how you just see, man used to think that with money and things we can buy anything. But there were cases which I heard myself, that people were traveling around with car full of money to buy a bed for their relative, but they just couldn't do it. That's when they realized money could do only this much. You cannot, or you cannot think that you can make your life happy forever with the kind of wealth we accumulate. So if you really know from the perspective of world also, the subjects available in the world also. So, we cannot coin that, we can know everything in terms of subjects available in the world. Here, remember, there is no fault at the level of pramata also, and there is neither a fault at the level of pramana also. But prameya itself is such that at forming a complete knowledge about that is not possible. That is why it is in the category of anirvachaniya. Then, when the prama which is formed will always be like this, right? Not complete in its form that way. Sometimes what happens is, even in the level of pratyaksha also, I'm trying to gain something from pratyaksh pramana, I'm trying to gain knowledge from pratyaksh pramana, but sometimes the object is far from the reach of the source of the organ of senses, is that the knowledge which is gained is hazy, is not clear, so to say. That it is so far, or that our eyes, our organs of knowledge can reach there, but not with complete clarity. If, for example, something is in front of my eyes, but it is so far that my eyes can't see it clearly, that the knowledge gained will be hazy. I think it is this, but I'm not sure, right? And so the prama which is formed with such things which is far from the senses will always be hazy, will always be unclear, right? The kind of exchange which is supposed to happen and about the prameya with this pramata, because of the distance with the object, that it was not complete in its form. And it can be with any senses, so to say, not about eye only, that because of distance, or because of non comprehension, some things are not so clear. And when a knowledge which has happened, I cannot say it has happened inside me, when a knowledge is incomplete or unclear, I cannot say it as prama, I cannot say that the knowledge has happened, because the property of prama is yathartha anubhav, means experiencing something the way it is. That is called prama. But here in this verse, where Bhagavan is saying nasti buddhira yuktasya, Bhagavan is saying very clearly, here the error or the fault is at the level of pramata, the person or the disciple who is set out to gain the knowledge. Why? What is the error at the level of pramata? Buddhi nasti. Nasti buddhi. In this case, as Atma Swarupa Sankhya Buddhi is not able to form at all in such a person. And remember, here Guru is capable, and the scripture which is giving knowledge is absolutely pure and clear. And the thing which is to be known, the prameya vastu, is sitting inside us. Is we are actually, it is pervaded around us, inside, outside at all. Neither there is a delay, nor there is a distance between us and the thing to be known. And, but in spite of all these things, in case prama does not happen, and then the only fault which we can circle around, the only one to be blamed, the only one at fault is actually going to be pramata. And the fault or the error at the level of pramata is what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji said here, asamahit. Asamahit means he is not single pointed yet. His intellect is scattered in different places. I'm giving you one more example for you to just give you from a kid's perspective. Just suppose there is a kid, in India we can say is reached +2, but if a kid comes back with this kind of a conclusion that I want to be a doctor also, I want to be an engineer also, I want to be a lawyer also. Now just think how many years of time, where is he going to establish himself? That's the level of the pramata with us. We are so much scattered. I'm not naming when I took up Avyavasayatmika Buddhi in my class, I remember how much discussion happened that, what do you mean by Avyavasayanam, and, what do you mean by scattered intellect? So I had gone into too much depth at that point in time, and I took it up in the class with people. When you have questions, then, it becomes easier for you to go down into the detail. So here it says that for the Ayukta Pramata, for the Ayuk Pramada means for the incapable or non-qualified disciple, well, Prama doesn't happen at all. The knowledge doesn't happen at all. And Bhagwan says, is even in case sometimes the knowledge has happened. For example, knowledge clearly goes inside the head, inside the intellect of such a person. But Bhagwan say in the next word, it says, Na ayuktasya bhavana. Ayuktasya bhavana means the experience of the knowledge will not happen at all. Means the correct comprehension inside won't happen. Means Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has used the word bhavana as Atma Jnana Abhinivesha. Means, what happens with us is also, Prama, when I use the word, Prama is such a clear, today, let me just give an example of today for you to understand it better, so that you can and translate it back to what I'm trying to say here. What happens when we say knowledge happens? Means it is available for me whenever I want it. Okay, that is at the level of worldly, objectified knowledge I'm talking about, like science and other things and all. But when it comes to self knowledge, here knowledge happens means I am able to experience that around me all the time, and I'm able to live it. That is what is meant by Atma Jnana Abhinivesha. The person's knowledge has happened in such a way that the person has entered the knowledge. Once that gateway of supreme consciousness had been entered, there is no look back. You don't come in, and there's not it's like not like a door that you enter, and then once your work is over, you come out, you enter, you come out, you enter, you come out. It's, that is what sometimes people do. There's a mistake. Spiritual knowledge is not such that, oh, I want the world also, and I want supreme consciousness also. No, that cannot happen. You will have to understand self realization means what? You have become the self forever, and at that time even the need of object cease to exist. You have become that happiness itself. You have become that pure bliss itself. Then why will you even run after objects for happiness? The objectified happiness is like drip of happiness. Then when you have gained the happiness in quantum, in totality, why do you even need objectified happiness? So why will somebody wants to keep the world and the spiritual realization together? That's a mistake which we understand. Bhagwan says, na cha ayuktasya bhavana. Maybe it's possible that the guru is competent and capable and so good, so par excellence, that he is able to give the knowledge to the disciple, irrespective of the fact that the disciple is incompetent and not capable at all. But by the prowess of the acharya, of the guru, the purity and the self abidance of the guru is able to give the knowledge to the unqualified shishya also. So acharya is very, very capable here. The guru is very capable, and the scriptures are definitely the most capable. So with the combined power of the guru, prowess of the guru and the scriptures, maybe prama has happened. The disciple has understood about the self. I will tell you one more thing about the guru shishya here, which is very beautiful. When we understand Sanatan Dharma, you will know this. Why studying under the guru who is of prima facie importance for our scriptures. That if we think that we can gain the self knowledge on the basis of our own sadhana, we are not correct in that understanding. Do we think that our sadhana is so powerful that I will gain the supreme knowledge the way my guru has gained? No. Why? Our Upanishad says is Samit Panim in Shrotriyam Brahmanishta, and it says is, with Samit Pani, the Shishya went to a guru, offered things to guru, and said, Guru, please teach me. Then when these kind of discussions come, it is that guru is already established in the self knowledge, and guru's sadhana sometimes can eradicate or solve or resolve the lacunas in our own sadhana, the shortcomings in our own sadhana. Guru is so powerful, but provided we have love and we have done service towards the Guru, knowledge will definitely happen. No doubt about it. That is the power of Guru in a Guru Shishya Parampara as per the Sanatan Dharma. So, Guru is so, capable, is so par excellence, and scriptures are definitely par excellence. So, Prama has happened, or the self knowledge has happened, even though the disciple was not capable, was incompetent, and it has happened though. And by the power of guru and his sadhana, because he's happy with that shishya, with that disciple, well, because he's really touched with the service of that disciple. There are many stories in our Guru Shishya Parampara, which I can pick up at some other time. And that that with the sadhana, the power of sadhana of the Guru, in the time when the praman vyapar, when the exchange of knowledge happens between the Guru and the disciple, is able to control the mind of the student and make it become single pointed for that point in time, and is able to establish clarity of self knowledge in the disciple. Well, and prama is formed, the knowledge or the self is formed with the clarity in them. Even though that is the case, but since the disciple is incompetent, and the comprehension of the reality or the comprehension of the truth, or entering the knowledge of that which has been given, and for that a guru cannot help. Guru cannot help unless and until the shishya is in a long term service of the guru. Guru may scold, put down, crush the ego, and all those things may do to correct the shishya. But these days shishyas also, disciples also come and go, no? So that is why there, in such a case, is a guru or an acharya cannot help. Here praman also cannot help. The creating the comprehension or experiencing the knowledge which is being given, the responsibility of doing that falls back on the seeker alone, on the disciple alone. For Bhashyakar or Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji does the meaning of the word bhavana as bhavana atma jnana abhinivesha, as I just mentioned. And the in the subject of the self, when an intellect takes, what do you mean by intellect has entered the self? Intellect has understood, I would not use the word understood the self, or intellect drops itself and the self alone shines forth in its true form, is what is meant by atma jnana abhinivesha. So the in the subject of the knowledge of self, that it lights, it shines for so much that that a seeker is able to enter that knowledge. That is what is meant by bhavana atma jnana abhinivesha. But in this case is even though the acharya, the guru, was capable, and the scriptures are also capable, and the self knowledge is handed over correctly to the disciple, but since the disciple is incompetent, the disciple is not able to live with that knowledge. What do you mean by live with that knowledge? walk that knowledge, what has been gained. Whatever knowledge has been gained, whatever clarity was gained with the exchange, the praman vyapar, the exchange of knowledge, right? This seeker remains a little far from it all the time. And since this seeker is far from that knowledge which has been handed over to this seeker, then you cannot say that the knowledge has become firm. It's not firm. That knowledge is clear, but it's not that the seeker has got any doubt also within him. The knowledge that way is clear, but in the at the time when the exchange of knowledge happened, the seeker did not put enough effort to actually make it his own experience. Experiencing in that knowledge did not happen. That is why no, the knowledge cannot be said that it has completely clearly happened. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has written one Prakarana Grantha. It's a good Prakarana Grantha though. Vivek Chudamani. It has got 500 plus verses. In Vivek Chudamani, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has only written it for the students. And there is one there is one live example which is given of this case, which I'm just mentioning. That once a guru and a disciple were traveling to a place, okay, and they were walking in guru who was walking in front, and the disciple was following. So at that point in time what happened, and the shishya or the disciple became thirsty. And with the thirst, the disciple was actually walking, and he asked guru that guru, oh, I'm actually feeling very thirsty, but I can't find a source of water anywhere, even though they were walking next to a huge pond or lake. But what has happened, because of the weeds, the water of that pond or lake was completely covered. So and it was completely covered and water was not visible. So they thought that the disciple thought that there is no water available, but guru said that oh disciple, well, water is right next to you, why don't you just go and quench your thirst first. So disciple asked the guru, but where is water? I can't see any water anywhere. Then what happened? Guru went and just cleared the leaves which were covering the weeds, which were covering the water, and then the water was clearly visible. And it is said that the disciple quenched his thirst from there, and was very satisfied. And then they started walking. When they started walking and they moved a little bit ahead, and the disciple tried to turn back and see how come there's such a big source of water was around me, but I never saw it, and guru saw. When the disciple turned back, the pond or the source of water had covered back with those leaves, and the water was not visible to this disciple at all. Now you see what happened. That guru had cleared the weeds and the leaves to show the water to the disciple. Disciple had drank the water also, quenched his thirst also. But when he turned back, now that the leaves have covered or weeds have covered the water again, and the disciple thought that there was actually no source of water, guru actually did some magic and water must have come out. This is how the Shishya has comprehended. Now you see here in this example itself, Guru showed that water to them and to the disciple, and disciple has quenched his own thirst. In the same way, during the time of Pramana Vyapar or exchange of knowledge, Guru must have given the knowledge correctly, removed the kind of coverings, removed the kind of projections which were covering the knowledge, and removing the veil which was covering the knowledge, and removed the ignorance of the person. The person may have removed his ignorance also, like this disciple quenched his thirst. But since the Shishya did not, the disciple did not make enough effort to make that his own knowledge, he may think that the Guru actually, these days it is very difficult. I've always been told that gurus are very magical, They, I think they hypnotize our mind and put some knowledge seeds inside us, and which may or may not be correct also. I'm sure what he told me is not what is actually there. The confusion again comes back, and that is what in Vedanta is called Viparita Bhavana. Knowledge is given. Knowledge was clear when it was given, but did not make enough effort to make it his own, did not did do Nidhi Dhyasan at all with what was given, because was not qualified, was incompetent. Because of that, in his intellect, there is not a firm stand of the knowledge. Means what? The knowledge, even though it was given clearly, but that knowledge, like any other pieces of knowledge lying in our intellect, is lying at one corner. It is not available for me because the clarity is not there. It has not become my own experience, and because it has not become my own experience, it is not going to give me fulfillment and contentment. Like the quench of this disciple was solved by the Guru at that point in time, but later on what happened, the when the disciple turned back, the leaves have come back, and since it has come back, the disciple thought it was Guru's magic, and actually there was no source of water at all. That is the state of us when we are ayukt person, or we are incapable and incompetent. That's why I keep telling everyone in the WhatsApp groups I have also, that definitely grow in love and devotion for God, because that's what is going to protect us. Keep serving God, keep serving your Guru. Don't lose the opportunity of serving God, Guru, and scriptures, because you don't know how much it pays when it has to pay. There is more to it. We'll see in the next session. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति 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 ही। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम तत्सत्।